All right. We should be live. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
What if I do this? Does that do anything?
No, you're still good.
Okay, I'm going to do that, I think, instead.
Okay.
I'm a rookie, obviously.
That's fine. Me too. I'm pretty technologically retarded myself.
All right, I think that's good. All right, that's all you get. What's today's date? The 23rd of July.
Yes.
All right.
So, RJ,
Yeah,
I'm glad to
Miss
have caught
Amanda,
you.
how are you? So good
I'm
to see you.
good. Things are so good.
It's been a
Things
long
have been
time.
busy. I know. You haven't been in Texas in a while.
I know. Yeah, this is my first time in Texas in quite a while. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good to be in the Lone Star State.
Yeah. There's some exciting things happening.
Like what?
I mean, the diversity, inclusion, equity shit is dead here in Texas,
Yeah.
which is good.
I saw Microsoft and what was the other company? They just said they were getting rid of it.
Yeah. Tractor Supply.
John Deere.
Yeah.
Yep, John Deere and Microsoft, they're passing on it too, which is good. So, I mean, especially after what we saw with the assassination attempt, when you've got women in power at the Secret Service.
Yes. Did you notice how uncoordinated and unteam-like that team was?
Yeah, but this is nothing new. I mean, I think it was Kevin Samuels. He showed the video. Remember, it was like Survival Island with Bear Gillis, and they had the all women on one island and all men on the other half of the island, and basically within a week or two, the men were damn near building the internet. They had their structure and civilization set up, and I think they had to damn near rescue the women because they couldn't freaking cooperate. They were, well, why do you get to be in charge? Well, I should be in charge. And that's all they did. Was just bicker. In the meantime, they're dying, and I think that's just female nature. They just don't understand that cooperation, because whether they hate each other, they're so competitive with each other, they'd rather die than cooperate with each other. And I think that's just part of, I don't know, this might sound horrible, but that's just part of female nature, and you just saw it with the president's assassination attempt.
Yeah. I want to know where that kid's mom is, because apparently both of the parents are licensed counselors.
Well, that's the problem right there. I mean, you talk about just that's just the pit of hell right there. All this, the rapists, which is obviously how therapist is spelled, and counselors. It's all part of the psychological. Was it the APA, American Psychological Association? And those whole organizations are just vile and pure woke leftist nonsense. And that would make perfect sense why he's such a wingnut if they're both counselors. He's probably he's crazier than a football bat.
Football bat. No, I want to see, because I mean that kid is my son's age. There's no reason he should have been doing that.
No, of course not. But when you get brainwashed and they put you on head meds, you're real easy to manipulate.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the head meds. Mm-hmm. I just want to see that kid's mom. I bet she has Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, probably.
That's my bet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Not at all. So what's been new and exciting with Amanda?
Oh, just, trying to warn people about how crazy bitch smear campaigns work. You have experience with smear campaigns, don't you?
No, not at all. What are you talking about? I've had a lot of experience with smear campaigns. The funny thing about the smear campaigns is they get so dull, and they repeat the same narrative, the same words over and over and over again. And it doesn't affect me at all, but it affects other people, because whether they get scared or they don't want to be associated with somebody called a racist or or an incel or whatever terminology they want to use. But it's like they've got this little narrative in their head, and they just crank it out time after time after time. And it's comical. You can plan on what's going to be said.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, it's just sad, Amanda, how how many other people fall into that bullshit, I guess is
Yeah.
the sad thing. I mean, I can see it coming a mile away, and I see what they're doing when I say it, and they respond back, whether it's a post they respond to that I put on Facebook or social media. And I don't even respond to these women anymore because they're just batshit crazy, and it's not going to do anything. And I'm
Right.
not going to give them the one thing that they want more than anything, and that's attention. And I'll
Yeah.
be damned if I'm going to give them any of my attention because they don't deserve it, and that just feeds that fire. And so I just flat out ignore them. But they do the same shaming techniques all the time, and a lot of the weaker men, they fall for that crap, but which is sad.
Yeah. Well, something I noticed, like, there has to be already some, because, like, I'm paying attention to one specifically, and the guys that are sucked into it right now were wronged by other people. So these crazy bitches went to him with this bait, like, oh, hey, I have dirt on the guys who wronged you. Here, listen to this. Like, and that's how they got sucked in, because that initial wronging that was done, these crazy bitches are like, oh yeah, I was wrong too. So it's almost like they're trauma bonding.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh, sure. Yeah. That sounds like it. I don't know the exact situation, but it definitely sounds like, what would you call it? Trauma bonding? I've never heard of that before, but yeah, trying to find some commonality and, build a connection.
well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Mode of being. I don't understand that one though personally. Like, why would somebody pick a crazy bitch to be friends with when they know damn well that it's a feminist and their whole agenda is to destroy another man just like them? Like, I don't get that part.
Yeah, you got me, but I do know that the need for a lot of men to be accepted or liked by a woman, whether it's a crazy bitch feminist, there's such a desire and need for that affirmation. Women, I just don't think women fully understand the power that they have in both good and bad ways. Some of them obviously do, but men can either be given life or death from the words and attention of a female as well. So a lot of guys need that, and yeah, it's sad, but I understand it, and it's just yeah, that draw for the warm, wet hole and that attention from a female is it's intoxicating.
Mm. So when you were going through your smear campaign, I think there's a lot of people here that don't know who you are or how yours went down. Do you have time to kind of share that?
Yeah, I guess which smear campaign, I guess, is um,
Your first, the one
the
that popped
first
your
one.
cherry. Yes.
Um, with this, the whole political situation, I wasn't willing to buy into the left narrative and what they wanted, and they said, "Hey, be careful. We can destroy you if you don't get in line." And I'm like, "Well, you're going to do what you got to do, and I'm going to do what I got to do." And from a daughter's tweet about you're a racist and don't vote for my dad to um, people in my own party, actually Betsy DeVos and the Republican leadership in Michigan, flat out telling that saying I told my daughters to enjoy rape, and I mean just an absolute disgusting smear campaign. With hit pieces mailed out into the district, 24 of them in total, um, negative news articles. I mean, the whole thing went viral, and it was all just to disparage and defame my character of who I was as a man and a father and a husband. No longer married, but I was for 21 years. And that's all they tried to do to kind of get me in line. And eventually the tactics worked because I did end up losing the general election after they actually even brought in a write-in candidate in my own party to make sure the Democrats won. But I don't know. I think part of I got this thick skin or the understanding going through the divorce after 21 years of marriage. You saw the manipulation and the disparaging marks, the shaming that they tried to do to get you in line. And once you, it's kind of like those. You remember those old posters you'd see at the mall, Amanda, where they're computer generated and it's all fuzzy. You can't really see them, but if you stare at them the right way and just long enough, all of a sudden a 3D picture,
Yeah.
can mysteriously come. Oh my gosh! Now I see it. It's a dolphin, or a fire truck or whatever. That's kind of what it is once you pull aside the curtain and you see things for what they are, it becomes crystal clear where all of this manipulation and gamesmanship comes from. And you just see it. It's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. It's just, oh, I got it. And I see it from a mile away now. And it just, and when I say it doesn't bother, I mean, it just, I laugh when I see it because they're really that stupid. They say the same things over and over and over again. It's just unfortunate that so many of these weaker men, they just fall for it. And
Yeah.
it's the brainwashing that has gone on in this country, Amanda, for so many years is so pervasive and insidious. Most people don't even realize that they're brainwashed. It's just we've been
Right.
conditioned. We want to get along. We want to serve these women, whether you call it the white knight or women and children first, dying for them.
Right.
In the attack on the patriarchy and men in general, people don't understand how long this has been going on. But once you wake up and you see it, you see it everywhere, and you just like, wow, how could I miss that? And
Yeah.
but anyway, I don't know if that's more than you wanted to hear. If that
No,
explains
no, no, that's good.
where I'm
So
coming from.
your family was involved, your
Oh
daughters.
yeah, yeah. And that was the hard thing too. I mean, in addition to obviously there was clear parental alienation from the previous administration and what they were doing, but also the connection that these young women had to have, whether it was in college or their friend group when you're 18, 19, 20 years old away from home at college, and these are such woke environments, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you have their friends saying, "Oh my gosh, is this really your father? And what are you going to do about this? And we'll cut you out or isolate you or love bomb you." Or these women will use all sorts of manipulative, seductive tactics on both men and women to
Yeah.
either get people in line or to do what they want them to do. And and I'm sorry, it's just most of these women, it's just pure evil what they're doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's so funny whenever I just I basically ignore women now. I just men cannot check women. They're going to do what they're going to do, and the only people that have a chance of checking or getting another female in line is a female. That's the only hope. So I completely ignore them. But whenever I would engage in the past, they'd be like, "Oh, RJ, you're a misogynist or patriarchal, whatever. You
Right.
obviously must have been hurt by a woman. You obviously
Right. Who
got some
hurt
scars.
you?
It's shame, shame, shame. All this bullshit."
Yeah.
And I just ask simple questions. It's like, listen, if you were the president of a business or you were a CEO, would you put a woman in charge of one of your most important projects? And then they get pissy. Well, that's not even a fair question. Well, the reason why is because they know they don't want a woman in charge of their own stuff because
Right.
whether they want to have a child and go off and leave the business, which is fine, more power to them. But their job as a CEO and the president is to make sure the business is successful. Um, the emotionalism that's involved with these females, and the thing is, women know women better than men do. They've seen them. They know they've seen behind their own curtain. It's just a game that they're playing. It
Yeah.
truly is because they don't trust each other and they don't even like each other that much. So
Right.
this whole idea of the sisterhood, it's just all bullshit.
Yeah, which is weird because I've been talking a lot with the women in my life because I'm like, I mean, since we met back at 21 convention, like that we both volunteered at, like
Yeah,
I've
was
been,
that? That's been a couple of years now, I think.
yeah, yeah, because the
Wow.
last one was rescheduled because Anthony had a baby, but
Hmm.
yeah, I've been trying to find out like from the women in my life because I have so many women in my life that I absolutely adore and they adore me. Like we get along great,
Hmm.
but we almost have kind of a pecking order. Like a lot of the women that I respect are older than me. They're like grandmas, like they're matriarchs in my life. And a lot of the younger women in my life, they kind of look up to me. Like it's
Hmm.
almost you know, and we all get along just fine. So
Mhm.
I'm asking them because I'm going over this crazy bitch boot camp ideas, you know, because they all love it. They want the T-shirt, by the way.
we
But
we will get on this. I'm telling
I
you.
know eventually.
Yeah, it will happen.
But like my biggest thing is like why these crazy bitch. I even asked somebody this morning. I was like, why won't these crazy bitches talk to me? And my client was like, well, exactly, you just said exactly why. I was like, is it because I say crazy bitch? And they're like, no, a crazy bitch would not get offended at you saying crazy bitch. It's because they are crazy bitches. Like, because it's just,
Well,
it's so weird. I have an easy time talking to so many people unless they're lying crazy bitches.
well, and see, Amanda, I think that's the real point is, yeah, they're crazy bitches, but they need to live. They have to be in a circus and
Yeah,
have the magician's trick, continue. You're the one that's going to pull the curtain aside. You're going to show the strings and the wires behind the scene. You're going to
right.
expose the crazy bitchery and the fugazi for what it is.
Yeah,
And see, that's why women are they're another woman might be able to check them because women understand the bullshit that they're doing because they've seen it their whole life.
yeah,
From the little Susie's, got her little pigtails, and little Johnny's like one girl but not the other, and then all of a sudden they've got their competition thing going, and then they've got the backstabbing and the manipulation, and you've seen it. And men, let's be honest, we're freaking stupid when it comes to this stuff. We have no clue what's going on with these women in women's heads. Zero. But
right.
you guys do. You understand, well, as much as you can. You understand what's going on, and they don't
Well,
want to be exposed. So
right,
it's kind of like a woman walking around without makeup on. They're like, hell no, I'm staying in the house. I'm not going out there.
right,
I need my fake up on.
right. No, it's funny. Okay, so at A&M, I think since we last talked, so Texas A&M disbanded their diversity, inclusion, equity department, right?
Good.
Because Governor Abbott mandated that, it's illegal pretty much. So A&M was the first one to do it. There were 6 feminists that worked in this department. When they were told that they were being broken up because they need to all be together to work and do their fucking black magic, right? Um, 2 of them left. 2 of them were like, oh, if you're not going to have a diversity, inclusion, equity department, we can't even be at this university. So they fucked off. So
Mm-hmm.
the remaining 4 women got dispersed to various different departments. And I have eyes in 2 of those departments. I have clients that work in those departments. So I get literally monthly updates on how those crazy bitches are doing. So now that they're isolated, they try to do their bullshit, and the women in those departments stop them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the women in those departments that shut them down. They're like,
Correct.
quit it with the bullshit.
Correct.
Quit it.
Which
And
makes, and that's how it has to happen. Because let's
yeah,
be honest, most men are scared to death of women. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely terrified. They're not going to chuck into these women. They want the relationship. They want the attention. The potential for sex or whatever. Most men are terrified of women,
yeah.
and it's going to take another female to do it. But it's really interesting when you said that the DEI program,
Department.
yeah, the department was disbanded. It's
Yeah.
really interesting that a third of them, 2 out of the 6, immediately left. I'm going to pick up
Yep.
my ball and go home. If I don't get what I want, I'm leaving.
Well,
And
those were the
well,
instigators
of
of
course,
the whole thing.
yeah,
Like
and I don't know exactly those 2 people and what the instigators were all about or whatever, but maybe they realized,
they
okay,
were radical lesbian feminists, is
yeah,
what they were.
radical lesbians, feminists. So great,
Yes.
that's who they were. Now,
Yeah.
was it because they were tasked with being there to start this program and to be instigators, or is it because when they disbanded this whole department, now all of a sudden there was going to be accountability and responsibility, and they're like, oh hell no, we're not doing
Yep.
that either. So they need to be in an environment where it's a circus. They love the chaos, they love the drama, and they have to be in an environment where there's no accountability and no responsibilities, and that way they can live in their delusional fantasy land. And that's the female nature. That's just how they are designed. They're very emotional and they hate accountability and responsibility. So, especially these radical, lesbian feminists. I mean,
Mm,
my goodness, that's the epitome of delusion, just living
right.
in it's just nonsense. So it
Yeah.
makes sense to me, but it's really interesting. They all do that. As soon
Yeah.
as there's accountability and responsibility, they either leave, get pissed off, and cry, and it's just it's like clockwork. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing new. They do the
I
same
know.
thing
It's the
over and
same
over and
thing.
over again.
And so they no longer have, I mean, like, think about it. They were in their own space. They were in their own offices in their own corner of the university. They spent all their time plotting
Scheming.
and scheming. Yes.
I'll get you, my pretty.
And getting paid for this bullshit and sending out emails
Yep.
and going over student lists and this. Oh yeah. No. And now that they're all separate, they have zero steam.
Yep.
Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because
Yeah.
they'll start some shit and the women in the departments are like, no, sorry.
No, that's great. I'm glad they're
Actually,
doing that.
here's actual work to do.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
because
is good.
the guys just don't pay attention because they're busy doing their own shit.
Yeah, we
Like,
don't care. We're like,
yeah,
just leave us alone. Let us do our
yeah,
work. Get
yeah,
out of our way. Stop the drama. And
yeah.
I know you saw that when you were working in corporate America. The women, they
Oh
could
my
do
god.
they could do less than half the work the men could, and the other half of the time they were just bullshitting with some drama and gossiping in the corner. I
Yep.
mean, it's just. But that's corporate America today.
Yeah, that's changing though, right?
Hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. We'll
I can't
see.
wait till Lowe's changes.
Yeah, there's those companies. I mean, I was honestly surprised. I heard this week that Microsoft and John Deere, got rid of their DEI programs as well. I was really surprised with Microsoft. Maybe that had something to do with the CrowdStrike, problem.
You know what? I thought about that too. I was like, wait, cyber attack, blah blah blah. Didn't they just literally get rid of their diversity, inclusion, equity stuff?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, and there's so much stuff that goes on. I've learned this just by being in politics a little bit, running for office. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we have no idea really what's going on. And you just once you start, you're involved with a little bit, you start seeing the big themes. You might not know exactly what's going on, but you know the echo and you know how it rhymes. So you had the assassination attempt, then you had the CrowdStrike stuff, you had the DEI programs. How much of these things are all connected, I don't know, but I know they're somehow connected, and that's one thing I can be certain of. But there's just so much going on behind the scenes, and yeah. And I think these rhinos, they're worse than the Democrats. These Republicans in name only. A traitor is always going to do more damage than the enemy, and that's what we've got going on. So I know I guess there's proof that there were more than one shooter with the assassination attempt.
Really?
Oh yeah, they had different caliber bullets, and this is a standard operation. Whenever there's an inside job, like when Oswald supposedly shot Kennedy. We all know now he wasn't the only shooter. There were more shooters, and that's generally how these operations work. You have to have a patsy set up to take the fall. That was the Oswald. So this 20-year-old kid, he didn't do this alone. I mean, he's the patsy. He was set up to go in there, do his thing, and he was going to get killed right out of the gate. Everybody knew that. But there were other shooters there. There's other caliber bullets. You saw there was another shooter up on top of the water tower. So yeah, that's why all of the stuff where the heat really came on with the Secret Service director. Cheadle was her name, or Cheater?
Yeah,
Cheater?
Cheadle.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of heat going on because they know this was a colossal mistake that was preventable, and yeah, it wasn't really a failure in my opinion. This was an operation. This was designed to do what it did, and they really wanted to assassinate the president. And I think that's why we also saw, Biden resign so quickly after that, because they had fully intended Trump to be assassinated, and they were able to manipulate the election the way they wanted to. And by the grace of God, Trump won just by, or missed that bullet just by turning his head.
Yeah.
The Democrats, the deep state, the rhinos, they didn't have a narrative ready to go because they all were in. He was going to be gone. And you saw the options, you saw the insider trading where people bought puts and sold shorts against the Donald Trump stock. You had people making big bet investments that Trump was going to die the same way they did before 9/11, where people bet against the airlines. And so there's all of this stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and you follow the money and you start to pick up the breadcrumbs about what's going on. And we have a very toxic, destructive, evil government, people in power positions right now. And the Secret Service director, she was a puppet, but she was also one of these people in leadership that allowed things to happen. So anyway, I'll take my tinfoil hat off now and put it over here. But my tinfoil hat's been fitting really, really nice the last month or
Yeah.
two. So it's like I'm running out of conspiracy theories because they all come true.
Yeah. Right. So did you get through the conversation with Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk?
I think so, most of it. I was listening to it, taking a nap here in Dallas before I pick up my next truck. So I think I got most of it.
Yeah. Did you hear the part?
Was there a particular part that was interesting to you?
Yeah, where Elon was talking about losing his son to this gender bullshit.
Yeah, what did he call that? Mind
The
killing?
woke mind virus killed
Yeah,
his son.
yeah. Xavier is his son's name. Yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad. But
Well, RJ, I have one of your Bible thumping crazy bitches that's been attacking my 80-year-old great
don't call them mine.
grandma.
Don't call them mine.
No.
The
She's
conservative, traditional Christian women, they're the worst form of feminists. I mean, don't get me
she's
started.
one of yours, one of your people.
No. No.
This is a humanities degree holding art whatever lady born in 1947. She's attacking. Well, she was attacking. I think she backed off, but she was attacking an 80-year-old grandma. Apparently, she thinks Biden's the anointed one. Just because my dear friend posted something about Trump, and how like something about God's plan can't be stopped or whatever. And she just starts going ape shit on her on the internet. These people forget that we literally live in the same community. Like,
Yeah.
she just starts going crazy on her.
Yeah. The problem, the thing, as I look at a lot of this, there's so much, and it's not just in the Christian or the biblical community, but they've got a really goofy idea of what faith is. And faith, it really is what you understand to be true. That's the basic definition of faith, and it should be based on logic, reason, and evidence. Unfortunately, many Christians, it's just people in general today, they have this idea of faith is just based on nonsense. And if I just believe, then this is going to happen. And that is not a biblical definition of faith at all. And for
Uh-oh. Did your phone die? He's probably still talking. That's funny. Hello, Billy. By the way, hello, K-Plan. Good to see you. The simple answer to this title is because it's not about logic. Why do most people not understand the infectious evil of emotional terrorism? Yeah, it's not about logic. So the people that, don't get stuck in their feelings can't understand why people do. Hello, Tom. I think RJ's having some technical difficulties. Yeah, he'll be back. Maybe. He said he had till 7:30, so. Rusty, good to see you. Freebird, good to see you. I'm looking forward to your streaming, Freebird. Uh-oh. Strider dated a Satanist unknowingly. Uh-oh. That would be an interesting story. The Satanist tried to sacrifice Strider, I bet. That ended things quickly.
I'm a rookie with this, Amanda.
You're fine. You're fine. No, you went blank. So
I didn't put do not disturb on my phone, so I had somebody call in, and that messed up my whole screen thing.
So back to one of your Bible thumping crazy bitches. One of your people.
Yeah, the problem is really if you get right down to the root of the issue is how you define the word faith. And really what faith is it's what you understand to be true. And it needs to be based on logic, reason, evidence. You know, every page of the scripture in the Bible, it encourages you, look at the evidence, test this. Did I not say? Look at these witnesses. This was a notable miracle. It was always based on evidence, facts. That's faith is based on facts. This stuff that you're talking about, where I believe, the nonsense that people come up with now, it's just, oh my gosh, did you see, the eagle fly down the golf course? That's Aunt Sally who's coming back from the grave to make a message that, and it's just nonsense that people live in right now. And, you look at evolution, the same thing. It's absolutely void of any scientific evidence. And so people buy into this evolution stuff. Well, I just believe it. It's like, well, okay, let's do the data. Let's run. There's nothing there. Same thing with climate change. It's all based on fantasy. It's propaganda. And it's no different with this, crazy bitch that you're talking about. Oh, he's but I see the same thing with the Trump people. They're like, well, Trump's the anointed one, God this, and they, well, Biden's the anointed one. God, like, stop with this nonsense. All right. They rip these Bible verses out of context. Like, well, Trump said this, so that means this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it doesn't. I mean, you can do the same thing. You put Biden in place for that verse. It's just nonsense. And people need to get out of that bullshit, think with their head, use logic, reason, and understanding, and come to some conclusions. And it's not complicated, but we all like to, I don't know if it's an insecurity, but we want to feel special. Like, I got this special line to God, he spoke to me and da-da-da. I'm like, well, I don't know. Does he speak to me? I don't know. I got voices in my head all the time. I don't know who. Maybe it had something to do with what he ate for lunch. I don't know what's going on in my head. But if you really want to hear a voice from God, the easiest thing to do is read your Bible out loud. Then you can hear the voice of God. That's the only way you'll know for sure what God is saying. Just read your Bible. That's it. But to add all of this other stuff and conflating this and saying this is Biden or this is Trump, it's just all nonsense. And people need to stop that. That's how cults get started, by the way. It's all based on bullshit. You see that with Jehovah's Witnesses and all of the nonsense of the Mormons in Utah. And it's all based on bullshit.
I have a theory. I've been proselytizing my religious beliefs lately.
Uh-oh.
I have a theory about the two beasts in Revelations. The sea beast and the beast from the land.
Yes.
I think the beast that came up from the sea is the feminist cult. And I think the beast that came up from the land is the psychology field.
Could be.
I've been hearing people say the sea beast is the Catholic Church and the land beast is like America. But I'm like, feminism is literally invaded both of those.
Yeah. Like I said, I did a study on Revelation a few years ago, and I have to pull off my notes. We'll have to do another stream on that once I get home and look at them. But but just going from memory, I think what some people do is it really comes down to how you read literature or a letter. So, for example, if I were to write you a letter and say, the Dallas Cowboys killed the Buffalo Bills, you would understand that we're talking about football, right? Because that's the context of the Dallas Cowboys playing the Buffalo Bills in football. Yeah. Well, if you fast forward 500 or 1,000 years and people don't know what football is, and if they were to read the letter that I sent to Amanda that says the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Buffalo Bills, it would be very reasonable for them to interpret that as saying, well, there were some cowboys, because they used to have cowboys and Indians on horses with shotguns or 45s, and they actually killed buffalo. That's what okay. So where I'm going with this is, a lot of times people will read scripture, and how you read scriptures, there's 3 steps. You observe what it says, you interpret what it says, and you apply what it says. Most people jump immediately from observation. This is what it says, there's a beast, and then they apply it. Okay, it's this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
The step that is often missed is interpretation. What does it say is
Yeah.
observation? What does it mean? Now,
Yeah.
is the beast just a metaphor for maybe the psychology cult or the feminist cult? Maybe it is. Or is the beast an actual literal beast that will be coming back to Earth to do these things? And so that's where I need to go back to my notes and read it. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
what is this? Because,
Yeah.
and I do the same thing. We have a tendency to read into the things that we already perceive. You know, oh, that's
Yes.
that. And, you know, and I've been
Yeah.
accused, you know, especially, yeah, and you're guilty of this, Amanda, by the way,
Yeah.
because when you
Oh,
met
probably.
me, I mean, oh my gosh, I was the biggest, you know, white knight, you know, serve women, you know, blah, 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 believe all women, defer to women, you know. Now, my ex-wife might not think, oh, no, he's a misogynist, chauvinistic, blah, blah, blah. But
Right. Right.
as overall, I mean, I really do. I love women, defer women, I serve them, die for them. I mean, 100%. And then I met you, and you were like, "What the hell are you? I mean, are you really this clueless, RJ?" I'm like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" So anyway, you've come a long way. Where I'm going with this now is in the group of men and, you know, guys that I'm hanging out with from a Bible and Christian standpoint. They flat out said, you know, you got a real problem with women, and I'm like, no, I don't have a problem with women. I have a problem with
Right.
feminists, and I have a
Exactly.
problem with this knee-jerk reaction that women are always right and we need to believe them, and like they are not saints. Okay, I'm
Right.
sorry, and men aren't evil. The same way these women look at men as they're all evil, they're all a problem. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
look at women like, oh my gosh, they can do no wrong. I'm sorry, they
Right.
can, and they
Right.
need to be held accountable and probably to a higher standard. And they
Yeah.
just, people don't realize that in society today, boys are being taught how to treat women but not what to expect from them. And women are taught what to expect from men, but not how to treat men. Okay?
Yeah.
We've been taught this from day one about how our society works with men and women. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't see it. It's like you're a fish swimming in the water and they're unaware of it. You know, and I remember there was an old story I had in one of my books where, you know, a couple of fish are swimming through the sea and the older fish swims by and says, "Hey fellas, how's the water today?" And then, you know, the older fish swims on, and the younger fish look at each other and say, "Water? What the hell's water?" I mean, that's where most people are. They're so clueless. The same way
Yeah.
I was. I wasn't even aware of what was going on. But
I mean,
that's
okay, so when I met you, you had been through all of your crazy shit.
yep,
I mean, here we are at the 21 convention. We're both volunteering because we're like, cool, we're going to check this out.
right.
In our first interaction, you were trying to make excuses for crazy bitches.
Right. Well, but see, that's the manipulation that goes on because
Yeah.
when they're good at it, you know, and I just hate the name calling and I hate the terminology because it gets so abused, you know. Well,
Yeah.
he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist or he's a sociopath, she's a sociopath. I mean, I hate the
Yeah.
name call. I just hate all that nonsense.
Yeah.
But I was in such a position where I remember going through, you know, we went through 4 different counselors. The first 3 agreed with me, and she couldn't stand that, so she had to get this 4th one, the Witch of Endor. That was like, oh yeah, you know, he is a monster, you know. So, you know, again, it's all I want to do is get the narrative. I need to, you know, have somebody to play in my circus, and that's what she found. But anyway, one of the counselors asked that, okay, obviously there's, you know, problems in your marriage. How much of this is your fault? And I said, well, 100%. You know, I'm the leader of the home. It's ultimately my responsibility. So it's I mean, 100%. I take a full responsibility for what's going on in this situation. And the guy
Yeah.
was like, okay, you know, good, we can work with that. And I'll ask my, you know, the previous administration, okay, now how much of this is your responsibility? And she said, well, none of it. So where do you go with that? My attitude as a mature person was I'm going to own all of it. I'm never going to
Yeah.
blame anything anybody. It's all my fault, even if it's not my fault. I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's a wise, mature way of handling things. But that was the mindset that I was in, and I just blindly gave deference to a female because she had a warm, wet hole, and she was a
Yeah.
female. I mean,
Right.
that was the bottom line. Now I've learned that no, 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 no. I mean, there's, and I don't take offense to this, Amanda, but I
Yeah.
find it very, very hard. I just think it's very difficult to find an actual red pill woman
Oh
because
no, I don't think women can be red pilled. I mean,
okay, yeah, it
what
is.
the internet said, they can't even agree on what
Yeah,
red
so
pill
I don't
is.
want
So I don't.
I don't want to offend you in any way
No,
because, you
no,
know, I like you, but women,
no.
you know, bitches can't be red pill. I mean, it just doesn't work. All right, they've got an
No.
entirely different framework. They've got an entirely different set of assets and guns at their disposal. Like they've got the
Yeah.
whole law and court system in their favor,
Yeah.
and they're never going to be rejected and abused the way men are in society.
I know.
It's
I
just
know.
completely ridiculous. And so,
But
anyway,
you know what I loved about our conversation? Like when I told you to quit making excuses for these crazy bitches, you just kind of stopped and you were like, "Wait, what?"
oh, and see, that's the thing. It's like I knew it was bullshit, but
Yeah.
you needed like a safe space where you could actually,
Right.
and that's why I just think there's certain areas that men just need to be men, and
Yeah.
you cannot have a woman involved because the whole conversation changes. And it's the same thing for women. Women will have their little, chit chat and whatever. And as soon as you introduce a man, their conversation totally changes. But
Yeah.
men get stupid when women are around. They change the conversation, and men just need to be men, and they can have that. I hate the word safe space, but that's really what it is, because they don't want to be shamed or embarrassed by females. But I have conversations like this in my Ubers all the time around the country, and these men. I mean, you talk about coming alive. I was
Yeah.
shocked when you made the comment, but I made comments in my Uber. These guys like, oh my God, what did you say? That's like so spot on, and they're like,
Right.
you can't shut them up. Like, da, 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 da.
It's
It's like
like
it's been pent up inside them for so long. Like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
somebody speaks my language.
Well, and it's funny because it's almost like all this shit that they've been forced to choke down, almost it's like an exorcism.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When you just open the floodgates, dude, like you just got to let them talk till they wear themselves out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's funny.
It really is. And it's sad too, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, okay, I have to tell you, Hammerhand's involved in a major lawsuit about
what happened?
censorship. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's on his 9th fucking channel.
So
And
did he initiate the lawsuit, or somebody suing him?
No, they're suing like Google and the ABC company and all this
Hammerhand
kind of
is?
stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
good
it's
for him.
super fucking exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this his lawyer finally he found somebody to pick up, like to go against. So Dennis Sperling, he is a man that advocates for Black men, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's turning into this big class action lawsuit against
that's awesome.
censorship.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't believe he's. Yeah, and you turned me on to Hammerhand originally a couple of years ago, and honestly, because I drive so much, he's just a fun guy to listen to. He's got his, the Sunday sermon, and then his Thursday, and hey, 2 pieces, busted open, no eggs.
Yep.
But he's been a real breath of fresh air. I'm glad you got me onto him, because he really he kind of cuts through the bullshit too. There's just no nonsense with him. And when you get to the point where you don't care about your sponsorship, or you don't care about getting censored, and all of the shaming from the feminists and the white knights, whatever, you're free to really speak the truth. And he just does a good job of that. And I've really been encouraged. I think he started doing this maybe 6 months ago. But he grabs his Bible and he does his random, the verse of the day.
Yeah.
I think I think that's good too. Just to, obviously not shoving anything down anybody's throat, but the book is 6,000, 4,000 years old. I mean, there's wisdom in there. There's never been a book that's older or more published or read than the Bible. To not at least acknowledge it or read it, to know what it says, is really, I mean, I just think, whether it's naive or just intentional ignorance, you got to read that sucker. I mean, it's there for a reason, and it stood the test of time. So anyway, I'm encouraged that he does that. But yeah, he's funny.
And I don't understand why people don't like him personally, because I've listened to hours of his content. Like I understand where he's coming from.
Right.
And so when people come at me with like, oh my God, he's racist, he's misogynist, I'm like, no, he's not. I haven't heard him say anything along those lines.
Yeah, but I remember back in the day, the first time I heard this old, you remember Rush Limbaugh. But when Rush Limbaugh was first on the air, he started in Sacramento before he went national. And he used to tell people, you got to give me, give me 2 or 3 months. All right. I'm an acquired taste. You're not going to get it right away. And I remember the first couple of times I listened to Rush Limbaugh, I was like, I don't know about this guy, but you give it, some time. And to be honest with you, Hammer was the same way. When I first started listening to Hammer, I was like, geez, I got to choke this down a little bit. But, and honestly, it's because you recommended him. You said, hey, you should listen to Black Ram, listen to Hammerhand. There's, if you want to learn some good content, I vetted some of these people. Hammerhand's a good one. And so I said, I'm on Amanda's recommendation. I'm going to plug my nose, or I'm going to listen and choke through a few hours.
Just take the medicine.
Yeah, I'm just going to listen. I don't have to agree with everything, but I'm going to, I'll finally start to get his humor and start to, where he's coming from. And, and then after a while, it's like an acquired taste. Now it's like, boy, there's something missing in my week if I don't have a little, a little dose of the Hammer, to hear what's going on. And so, and I found that the most impactful relationships in my life have been like that. The first time that you meet, there, kind of rubs you the wrong way. You're like, I don't know about this. And then you kind of plug your nose and gut through it. And all of a sudden you're like, wow. I've been meeting with the guy now for, I was 25 and 30, 40, 56. So 30 years I've been meeting with the guy every Thursday about the Bible. Yeah. And we've been meeting every Thursday. Now it's on Zoom when I'm on the road. And he's about as cuddly as a cactus. And I remember, my ex mother-in-law, we were talking one time and she said, you really meet with that guy? And I'm like, well, yeah. And she's like, why? I mean, he is such a jackass. I mean, he just is not, he's got the personality of a cactus. And I'm like, well, if I were a drug, user, I would want to go to a dealer that has the most pure, uncut cocaine out there. And I want to get it straight. Now, I'll cut it at home if I need to and mix it with whatever I want. But I want the straight stuff coming from the best dealer in town. And he teaches the Bible straight. It's uncut, unfiltered. This is what it is. And that's why I go to him, because I want the truth with this and I want to learn it. And she's like, well, I've never put up with that. I'm like, well, that tells me more about you than me. But that's why I went to me. And now, I mean, my goodness, it's like, he's mid-70s. It's like a father-son relationship. I just can't even imagine not meeting with him. But I remember the first few years, it was tough. I was like, geez, I got to go do this, guy again on Thursday. But that's what I wanted. I just kept going back. And then, something clicks. And you're just like, wow, this is, it's like eating vegetables, it's bitter to eat, but they're good for you.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this Secret Service? You like that Mace girl, huh?
I do. Yeah. We have a battle. Because I made a public apology earlier because you know me, I don't believe women should vote. I believe women don't belong in fucking politics. But Mace is the first one that I'm like, oh my God, yes, she definitely deserves to be there. I loved her. No, like.
And I took the opposite tack. I was like, now see, Amanda was exactly right. This is exactly why women don't belong in power. Because she completely ignored the chairman. The chairman's the boss. There's a hierarchy. He's like, hey, we need some decorum here. Yeah, we understand the bitch is lying. Yeah, we understand it. But, I mean, come on. Be a little more clever. Use some different words. You can't be swearing and, there's whatever, decorum. Some people might say, wow, he was simping for her or white knighting for whatever.
He was white. Well, no, there was another woman who spoke up first. I don't know who this woman is that spoke up. And then he spoke up.
Right.
So both of these, woman led him. She spoke up first. I'm going to find out who it was.
Yeah.
Because.
But to me, it was a perfect example. This is why these women don't belong in power, because you could tell she completely ignored this chairman. I mean, paid him no mind at all. Now, granted, he's kind of a wuss. If it were me, if I were that chairman in power, I'd be unplugging her mic saying, bang the gavel, whatever. This is not how this is going to go. When you compose yourself, young lady, you can come back. But you're going in timeout for a while. Get the hell out of my conference. If I were the chairman, that's what I would do. I mean, because you're not going to do that to me. But she knew that there were no consequences.
But you're no longer a white knight for these crazy bitches.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, and then it's so funny. The tears will start and the shaming. I'm like, really? I mean, that stuff stopped working on me years ago or whatever. But no, that's why I say she knew there were going to be zero consequences, zero accountability, and zero responsibility for what she was doing. And you could tell she completely ignored his authority. And he can't do anything because he knows if he does, he's going to get called out, whether
Yeah.
publicly or shamed. So
Yeah.
men don't know how to check women.
Yeah.
Almost all men don't know how to check women, and that's why women. And it's not the man's fault. This is how they're designed. But that's why I say
Right.
women should not be empowered. And that, to me, that was a perfect example why they don't belong there. But
See,
trust
and
me,
I
I
thought,
love what she said too. I love what she said because she was spot on.
right? Okay, so how does this government thing work? I mean, I've completely been,
You
I
get the
don't think it's any
weakest. You get
of
the
my fucking
weakest,
business.
most influenced, controllable puppets you can find that have zero morals, values, and ethics and principles. They're
So
the ones in power.
that hearing, right?
Yes.
Where that crazy Secret Service woman, completely incompetent, where she's sitting there all day getting questioned by people in our government. Is she not supposed to answer those questions?
Right.
Is she not supposed to, or?
I'm sure she was told not to. See, you think she was incompetent. I
Yeah.
don't think this was a failure by the Secret Service at all. I think this was an operation and it went down exactly as they wanted planned, except the fact that they missed. They didn't kill Trump. This
Yeah.
was an operation. This was an inside job. There was more than one shooter. The government's involved, whether it was the FBI, CIA, who knows, Secret Service to what level. But, there's money involved. And it's interesting, as soon as Trump got the nomination, he now has access to all the national security information again. So
Right.
now, because he's the Republican nominee, which happened a few days after the assassination attempt, now all of a sudden he's making phone calls and talking to Zelensky again, because now
Yeah.
he has all of that national security information about the CrowdStrike servers and what's going on in Ukraine. And now we got a CrowdStrike problem. Isn't that convenient? See,
That
there's
is
all of these
convenient.
things that go on behind the scenes that nobody pays attention to because we're all talking about this assassination attempt and this. Well, they're missing the bigger picture. NSA, Trump with with Zelensky, now Trump talking with Z. North Korea, China, Putin. There's all of these big chess pieces that are being moved, and we're talking about Cheadle or this incompetent Secret Service girl. But
So you're looking at it from this was done maliciously. I'm kind of looking at it like it was done as an incompetence.
yeah, and I think I remember dealing with when I was married. You'd have these blondes, cute blondes, and
Yeah.
they always liked to use that. Oh, I'm just a dumb blonde. It was just a real convenient excuse. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were
Yeah.
playing. They were playing incompetence. They were like, oh, I had no idea. Oh, bullshit. You know exactly what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I think it's like plausible deniability. Oh, I didn't know, and so.
That seems to be a word that I've heard come out of a lot of people's mouths lately. Plausible deniability. What exactly does that mean?
Plausible deniability. It's
Yeah.
like people that are real slippery love to use it. They're doing something, but then there's maybe a witness, or there's I don't know. I don't really have a good example, but it's like, well, I guess I can understand why they did that. I guess that makes sense. But they knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted to cause harm.
Yeah.
Intentionally, but they have a reason why over here that could make sense. I guess that's why they might have done it. That's what it means by it's plausible. It's plausible that could have happened, I guess. And so they can deny the fact that they did something that was blatant and malicious, and they cover it by saying, well, maybe it was just incompetence. I guess that could be. That's what plausible deniability is. It's a horrible explanation, but it's just
Yeah.
it's an excuse for doing something malicious that people
Okay.
can't quite put their finger on. But
Well, I
there's a
know this.
reasonable doubt. Let's put it that way.
I know this feminist cult operates with very much malicious intent in their fucking everywhere in our government. So I
Yeah.
believe that.
Mm-hmm.
This
There's no question. And the problem is there's too many men. I don't think women do it as much. Women see through the bullshit. They see what other women are up to. They
Yeah.
get women. Men
Yeah.
don't. We're absolutely flipping clueless. And so
Right.
they will give them the benefit of the doubt. And
Right.
it's just and before the men even know what's going on, the women have already gone like advanced 5, 6, 7, 8 steps down
Yeah.
the path. And then
Yeah.
the guys are like, holy crap. It's like when you go through a divorce, you're
Yeah.
you're giving. Oh, my wife says she wants to consolidate. We'll work this and reconcile. Blah blah blah. Well, in her mind, she's already made up. I'm getting divorced. You know, she's already got the
Yeah.
other guy. She's got the bank accounts. I've already talked to my friend group. I've got this. She's already planned this
Oh,
for a year. And then next thing you know, she drops the separate maintenance or the divorce papers on his desk. And first time he's not hearing about it. He's like, what the fuck?
right.
You know, I thought we were
Oh,
working this out. And she's already, you know, she's halfway across to the
yeah,
goal
yeah.
line, you know, and
No,
he's trying to like
RJ.
play defense.
RJ, I wish we had more time. I know you have to go, but I have to tell you about I was trying to join a feminist divorcing a narcissist cult. There's this crazy bitch online that has an entire cult, and she trains women how to teach other women how to divorce their narcissist.
Wow.
I have to go more into it, but I didn't
Yeah.
end up joining this cult, specific cult. But no, it's the same kind of coaches that
Yeah,
probably coached your
I
ex-wife.
think you need to spend your time working with women that need to get out of a crazy bitch scenario, like crazy
Yeah.
bitch boot camp. The boot camp would
Yes.
be, are
I
you
know.
being manipulated by a crazy bitch? Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of young women, like these young women that you were talking about at the start of your show. You know,
Yeah.
they look up to you for advice and
Yeah.
wisdom because you're, you know, you're older than 30, and
Yes.
they see what you're doing, and so they look up to you. There's a
Yeah.
whole lot of women out there that are looking up to crazy bitches that are
I know.
manipulative, insidious, toxic little cunts.
I
And
know. I
sorry I
fucking hate
said
them.
that word, but
No, I
it's
love
what they
that.
are.
It's what they are. Yeah. Yeah.
It's exactly, and I hate using that word, but you know, when the word fits, you use it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of women out there that really are. I mean, I don't know if desperate's the right word, but you could do a lot of good helping these women understand how crazy bitches do this to these young manipulative women, and you see it on college campuses all the time. Where
Yeah.
they, you know, you taught me this term. They love bomb them, get them into this group, and then next thing you know, it's this manipulation and coercion, and it's toxic. It sucks the life right out of them like a vampire. And
Yeah.
crazy bitch boot camp would be perfect for these young women to say, okay, are you being manipulated by a crazy bitch? This is how you know. Are they doing this and this and this? And then maybe you are the crazy bitch. How do you know if you're a crazy bitch or not? You know, here, take the, you know, take the
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
question. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I am the crazy bitch. And then how do you stop being a crazy bitch? You know, then you
Yeah.
talk to, you know, Amanda or whoever, because yeah,
Well, I have
it's toxic.
it is toxic. I have two friends that went through this with their daughters. Like they both have three, both families have three kids, two sons and a daughter. They all got sent to college, but the feminist cult almost got their daughters.
Hmm.
And it was like their first Christmas dinner. They were, the men of the house were getting told like, "Oh, yeah, you're misogynist and blah blah blah, racist that." And like the mothers of the house were like, "Excuse me? Like what
Hmm.
the fuck is going on?" Like they almost got alienated from their family, but I think because they were still together, the mother stepped in and were like, you're not going to say that to your
Yeah.
like what the fuck are you talking about?"
Right, and that's one of the
Like,
real insidious things of divorce. When you break that, when you get rid of the father in that home with that stability and
yeah.
wisdom, it's really toxic. But you know, I remember that Jordan Peterson, Elon Musk, you know, interview. They were talking about that too. The real insidiousness behind that is this disparaging notion towards young women that you are less of a human being if you are a mother, if
Oh,
you
I
have
know.
children. You know, you are not living up to your full potential as a human being. You know, you're barefoot and pregnant. You know, you've fallen into the matriarchy. What was that made up story, the Handmaid's Tale?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oppression and abuse and
oh my gosh, all this bullshit. And these women, they are so easily manipulated and
yeah.
deceived, and they buy into this nonsense. And so you take a young woman, you know, from the safety of their home, and then off to college campus where they're alone and, you know, impressionable and scared and not sure. And then they get, you know, hit with all of this woke nonsense. And next thing you
Mm,
know, they come home at Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, mom, you've been manipulated by dad, and dad's a misogynist, chauvinist, patriarchal, blah blah blah. And
mhm.
next thing you know, these women are like, well, I got a PhD, and you know, they go work until they're 30 something, and then they
Yeah.
realize, what the flip am I working so hard for? You know, and then they end up dying, you know, with a cat and boxed wine, and realizing they pissed their life away with nonsense. And
Yeah.
it's just really sad. And I think Elon was talking about it with the depopulation, what's
Yeah.
going on today. But it's, you know, but it's nothing new. You know,
Right.
civilization always dies whenever you have luxurious living and, you know, all sorts of hedonistic pleasure. But you know, that was what they did when they sacrificed their babies to Molech. They wanted a shortcut to temporal pleasure, whether that was
Mm.
money or what they wanted, their crops to be successful. They would sacrifice their children to get what they wanted now. And we're doing the exact same thing in the abortion mills. And, you know, don't have children so then you can live your hedonistic lifestyle, spend your money on yourself and do whatever you want. And you know, that's why women generally don't, you know, grow up until they have a child, because they're
Mm.
so short-term focused and selfish. It's not until they have a child that they actually mature and become an actual, you know, human being, really, where they think outside of themselves. So,
Yeah.
but it was really interesting to hear Jordan and Elon talk about that. But to
Yeah.
me,
No,
it's
it
just
was
common
really
sense.
good. Right. Common sense, not
I
so
don't know.
common anymore.
No, it sure isn't. But Amanda, it's always good seeing you
I
anytime.
know.
You know.
Thank
So,
you.
yep, I'm here in Dallas, and I'm heading to LA next. So,
Yeah. Going to
yes,
drive
yeah,
all
I'm
the way there.
heading. Yeah, I took a
Ugh.
took a CNG, compressed natural gas truck from Iowa. Had to take it up to Vancouver, Canada. So I was on the road the last week, and
Yeah.
now I'm heading back to the West Coast. So
Oh,
I'm close
contriver
to
said
you, though.
hi. I
I'm close to
know.
you.
If
I
you
mean,
were if you
Texas
were in the
terms.
area,
I know I'm only 3 hours away. My goodness, that's like down the street for most states.
yeah. No, I mean that's close for Texas.
I know it is. You get a big ass
Well,
state.
if you have time to have a sit down, let me know
Oh yeah,
whenever you're in Texas.
sounds good. All right, Amanda. Have a great night. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me on.
Thanks, RJ.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye. Reagan Sir is awesome. Yeah, RJ's cool. Yes, these women with PhDs think they're girl bosses. They're still a maid, a concubine for the top 1% of men only, just because they don't want to under the authority of her husband. Hello, Lumber. How are you? Do not permit a woman to teach or have the authority over a man. She must be silent. Yeah. It's true in a lot of situations. But yes, crazy bitch boot camp. Yeah, Billy said plausible deniability is an effective manipulation. You make the connection, so more likely to believe it true possible. Yeah, I just hear people talk about it a lot. Contriver, it's literally only 7:18 p.m. So, all right. That was all. I wanted to share a conversation and have one with RJ just to see how he was doing. And a man's take on being sucked into crazy bitch smear campaigns. And yes, he did say the hard C because he's right. So that's all. By the way, in case anybody missed it before, Freebird is going to be streaming. I already shared it in the last stream. Yes, they are the worst. They are the worst. Well, you got sucked into one, didn't you, Contriver? Before you back the fuck out of it. Now all the crazy bitch white knights are pissed. Yeah. Yeah, maybe one day we'll talk about that. All right, y'all. It's good to see you, Manuel. We need to touch base soon. I would actually really like your take. I know I've been trying to touch base with you, but I know you're super busy too. There's just so much good stuff going on in my country right now that is gonna affect your country. And I kind of want to know your take on it, being a South African individual. So, whenever you have time, I will make the time. But tomorrow I have an exciting meeting. So, stay tuned for Ground Zero Crazy Bitch Boot Camp. Starting real time in College Station, Texas. I think it's perfect timing. All right, see y'all later.